How may I help you?
Hey, this is a bit weird. Why is no one doing arts here?
Nah, man. It's 'cause everyone who works here has an art degree.
Do you have any suggestions? Maybe? I don't know, there's a lot on your menu here.
As you may see today, our specials are coffee for $9, latte for $10, and we have something special for the Americano. You can have one for free in exchange for your firstborn child.
Coffee would be good. I'll take an Americano. See, even though my time at the art cafe was silly to say the least, there's something to be said about counting the cost. See, the Bible tells us about counting the cost of being a disciple. See, most world religions don't really do that. They don't tell you, actually, think about it first. And you see, this is exactly what Jesus tells us to do. Count the cost. Think about it first. Look at what that means. And so if you go to the book of Luke, which is the third book, the third gospel in the New Testament, in Luke 14, verses 25 to 34, this is what it says. Large crowds were traveling with Jesus, and turning to them he said, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother, his wife and children, his brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. And anyone who does not carry his cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Will he not first sit down and estimate the cost to see if he has enough money to complete it? For if he lays the foundation and is not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule him, saying, 'This fellow began to build and was unable to finish.' Or suppose a king is about to go to war against another king. Will he not first sit down and consider whether he is able with 10,000 men to oppose the one coming against him with 20,000? If he is not able, he will send a delegation while the other is still a long way off, and will ask for terms of peace. In the same way, any of you who does not give up everything he has cannot be my disciple. Salt is good, but if it loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is fit neither for the soil, nor for the manure pile. It is thrown out. He who has ears to hear, let him hear." See, this says several things in a very short amount of verses. It starts out by Jesus telling us that we can't follow him, we can't be his disciple if we don't hate our parents, if we don't hate our siblings, and if we don't virtually hate our lives, right? That's what he says right here. Yes, even his own life. He cannot be my disciple. Well, obviously Jesus is not telling us to hate our parents, or to hate our siblings, or to hate ourselves. In fact, the Ten Commandments speak about honoring our fathers and mothers, and Jesus was very clear that he didn't come to abolish those things, but to complete them. And so here's what this short passage means. The love that we have for Jesus is going to have to be bigger than our love for things of the world. It's going to have to be a love that is willing to take a risk, to go out and to say, actually, Jesus is real, and Jesus is worth it. Jesus is worth every single sacrifice that can be made. And it continues, and anyone who does not carry his cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. See, obviously at this point, Jesus was not crucified. But crucifixion was a thing that all of them knew about. And one of the things that people knew, to say that you need to carry your cross means that you need to be ready to die for this. We need to be ready to go out in dangerous places and share the word, to share the truth of the gospel. That's one of the things that he says. It is part of the cost of being a disciple. You're going to lose everything for my sake, but it is worth it, is what he's trying to tell us. And then he tells us about the man building a tower. Wouldn't it be silly if you started to build something, yet you didn't have the materials to actually build it? Well, it tells us our faith is kind of going to be like building a tower. And it's going to cost us a lot. And we need to be prepared to spend everything we have on it. Everything. And then it goes on about a king who's about to go to war against another king. Well, the reality is that we're probably never going to have to plan a war, hopefully. But what we do know is that right now, as enemies of God, we are at a disadvantage. If we are not saved, we are at a disadvantage. God's army is mightier, He is stronger, He is sovereign, and greater than we will ever be. And it tells us about going for a peace treaty. Well, the reality is that Jesus did that. He came and paid the price so that we may have peace with God again, that we may be reconciled and brought back. It is part of the cost of discipleship. It is knowing that we are unable to fight the war, we are unable to win, we are unable to do all these things, yet Jesus says, I'm going to cover you, and I'm going to pay your debt. And it continues and ends by saying, salt is good, but if it loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is neither fit for the soil nor the manure pile. You see, salt is put in dirt for gardens. It's good for the soil. But it needs to be salty. If not, you're just adding rocks. Same goes, well, what it's saying is that if we are these Christians who are unable to give our lives to Christ fully, we are salt that has lost its saltiness. And funny enough, it says that we're not good to make the ground better for other things to grow in it, but it also says that we're not even fit for manure. We're not even fit for a pile of animal poop. It is simple as that. It is good to be thrown out. So today I implore you to count the cost, to see what it means to be a Christian, to actually read your Bibles, and to see what Christ is calling us to before making that step, before making that decision. And if you are making that decision, or if you have made that decision, start living a life of sacrifice, a life of giving it all to Christ, where people look around and say, that faith is beyond all understanding. And so, on that note, I want to wish you a wonderful week. God bless.